We wake early at Hunday to get a glimpse of the mountain tops, and we do. We see the top of Annapurna too. We should have seen her earlier, but the weather was overcast. As the clouds turn pink, we look out for the rising sun. Between the two mountain ranges, we see a glow. Soon the whole sky lit up. It was bright and sunny. We saw some more snow capped peaks, and to add to the wonder, the moon was out. That might have probably been Annapurna 3. This building, stacked with firewood on all sides, is Humday's official airport. The place looked even more spectacular in the morning light, with hundreds of waterfalls running down the hillsides. There were corrals everywhere for cattle and horses, and beyond were the mountains. While they towered majestically over us, they were still a transient sight that we may or may not see again. Our eyes devoured every moment before the clouds made it appear that they were never there. We walked along the floor of this high valley, watching the waterfalls as we passed them one by one. The Marsyangdi was, as always, never far away. Little village children who had never seen a wash played by the wood piles. Our hotel itself could have used a good wash, but then it didn't seem to matter to people here.
Here in Humde, Annapurna something or the other. See, we passed 2 and 3. This must be.
One is the highest.
A bridge crossing. The first is a smaller stream coming from the mountains. The second would be the Marsyangdi herself as we turn into Manang. We arrived at Bhraka early. Bhraka was our original stop, but because of the delay, we decided to stop at Hunday. Now we were passing Bhraka on the way to Manang. Bhraka appeared to be a much bigger village with lot of beautiful flags flying high. It was well above the road and looked down upon it. We went merrily on our way. Bhraka also had multi-level wooden hotels, just like the one we stayed before. The Marsyangdi roared beneath. There were little shrines and Tibetan-looking monks. Some of the stone houses and the monasteries looked a lot like Tibetan structures. Both the landscape and the structures would have cultural continuity. A lone rider approached in this windy place.
Mountaineering training स्कूल है इंस्टीट्यूट इधर प्रैक्टिकल के लिए इधर क्लाइंब करता है
ये पार्क का नाम ये पर्वत का नाम
तो वही पार्ट ऑफ 3 है उसको मम्मी टीचर है
तो पार्ट ऑफ 3
3 का है माउंटेनियरिंग स्कूल है
This multiple peaked slope full of glaciers was part of Annapurna 3.
गोविंदा, ये क्या है?
ये तो ये अन्नपूर्णा रेंज का अन्नपूर्णा 3 उस पे आगे बड़ा है ना,
हाँ।
उसकी बटन है।
ये अन्नपूर्णा 3 के बॉटम है।
The wind was fierce, although it didn't look it. It blew us and the cameras. All one wanted to do was take a slow and good look at these peaks. Before long, we won't be able to see them, but they will surely watch over us. We saw swaths of wildflowers in different hues.
क्या गा रहे हो? डुम 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 करो।
We walk further on and make the turn to Manang. Landslides scar the landscape. We've come high enough that we can see the Marsyangdi snake her way across the valley. Now it's time to cross her one last time before we reach the Gangapurna glacier. We can see this glacier from the bridge. What's most exciting is we can see the top of the glacier. This brown debris that one sees, that looks like a little hill, is a glacial moraine. It's amazing to see these things that one has studied in geography in real life. The glacier has acted like an enormous bulldozer and pushed these piles of mud and rubble on either side of it. We still had energy, so we decided to climb up the slope and see what was on the other side. It was a deviation from our path to Manang, but it was a once in a lifetime chance. There was a glacial lake behind this moraine. We paused on the way up for a quick look around. What was seen was most unexpected. The hillsides opposite had the most fascinating caves. Who had carved them out? How did they access them? How did they live there throughout the year? We know that in the Himalaya, a lot of sadhus and sages and yogis go up and meditate in silence. Sometimes for several hundreds of years, it is said. This is part of our cultural history. And there it was, the glacier and her lake, pristine and clear, but grey as the sky.
कितना दूर है तिरुचु लेक? तिरुचु लेक तो यहाँ से 2 दिन का ट्रेकिंग का रास्ता है
मुश्किल है,
जी।
मुश्किल है।
हाँ, ठीक ही है, उसकी तो उतना नहीं है।
हम कर सकते हैं।
हम कर सकते हैं मगर उधर 1-2 रोज के लिए होटल नहीं है ना पास करने से तो आगे तिरुचु से आगे जैसे तुरंग हाई कैम है।
The glacier rumbled as we stood there watching her. It was an astounding sight, short and wide.
अब क्या करें जी, वहाँ पर जाना है और
जाएंगे जरूर, माँ आने दो।
We see the Gangapurna up close. We go to the lake and reverently drink her water. Oh, it's icy. It's almost as though you freeze inside when you drink that water. What else would one expect? It is melted ice, freshly melted ice. A glacier is a river of ice, and you can see this river flow down its short, steep path, the ice cracking and breaking along the way. If one is to peer above where the glacier begins her steep descent, Annapurna 3 is seen in the distance. To the right of Annapurna 3 is Gangapurna. Following the glacier upwards, one can clearly see where it breaks off and comes down, and above it, the place where the snow accumulates from the Annapurna tree and Gangapurna. Further beyond, we could see the Tilicho peak. Under this peak lay the Tilicho Lake. It's another famous trekking spot. Surrounded by moraines, the lake is in the center. It brims over and forms a gushing stream that rushes with great excitement to the Marsyangdi. This map shows the moraines on either side of the glacier and the Gangapurna lake. We climbed up this slope down to the lake, and you can see the lake exit to join the Marsyangdi. From our higher perspective, we can see as the two come towards each other and meet at the Sangam. This is Mother Earth's fresh, pure water, straight from the glacier. You can't get it any more fantastic than this. We drank so much of it, and we actually filled our bottles and carried it back all the way. It was a moment for pictures. How often would you stand before such a magnificent creation of God? It's such a divine place, and every moment swells the heart with happiness and togetherness. We leave Gangapurna behind and take a shortcut up to Manang. This route gives us a clear view of the Marsyangdi, of the Gangapurna, the glacial moraines with their strange formations, and the verdant valley below. While it's time to move on, we can't help looking back.
3 keeps getting eroded. This is what the glacial valley will look like.
Oh dear. Hold this. Beautiful.
We see that the Marsyangdi is not flowing to her full capacity. The wide riverbed reveals this fact. Unlike the fine sand that is seen on the riverbeds in the lower plains, here the riverbed is full of rocks, rounded rocks that the Marsyangdi has pushed down and rolled off the mountain. A curious sight catches my eye. There is really somebody walking on this bed. It's a woman with a big basket. What is she looking for? Is she walking along the stony bed? I watch and wait. I'm curious. She's such an incredibly small dot in this vast landscape, really showing us the insignificance of our own selves. She literally disappears and merges with the stones.
Not the same.
You know what I meant.
I know what you mean.
I look for her, but I see somebody else walking there. Where is this woman? I spot her sitting on the rocks. Perhaps she is collecting these rocks for the gold content they may have. We have seen that happen in other places along the Alaknanda. Perhaps it's not as fanciful as my imagination is. This man has 2 baskets of stones and he's building a stone abode far away in the distance. Maybe the rocks are just to be carried up to build a small, humble home that would keep the snow out and the warmth in.
In 2 minutes we're going to cross 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
That joyful music lasted as long as the person with the radio walked along me. He fast outpaced me. I paused to watch this man herd his cattle and his sheep. They did look like little cows from the distance, but these guys looked like sheep. He was obviously driving them somewhere. The thing that he was rotating seemed to be a rope or a cloth with rocks in it. Was he planning to fling them at something? Perhaps they were predators that would come for his animals? It would be interesting to know. These fuzzy little things forage the little bushes merrily. What do they know of the world outside? They would be sheared once a year, and their fur, their wool, be used for local cloth. Looking down at this whole scene is the Chulu West Viewpoint restaurant. These things were goats, but then the other animals that he was driving were cattle. They were calves. Where were all their mothers? Perhaps she was doing the right thing. It would be a good idea to sit and look at the beautiful scenery and just enjoy the view. What a day it was. We arrived at Manang to our lovely hotel with ensuite bathrooms. Thanks for watching this What is India production. Give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.